Is this the grave sites of the Bloody Benders? There's another story that I recently heard, and these people may be buried here in the Linwood Cemetery in Glenwood Springs. The Bender family. That's the serial killers out of Kansas. They used to have travelers come over and they put a sheet or something as a backdrop on the wall, and they had a table with a chair, back of the chair facing the canvas sheet or whatever it was. And while they were entertaining the guests or feeding them, the dad of the bunch had a huge sledgehammer, and he would hit them in the back of the head through that sheet, kill them. And they buried them all over the yard. It was several, they killed a whole bunch of people. I'll look up the story and see if I can get the exact number. But there's some Benders here, and the names match up, and the dates match up pretty good. Nobody knows when they died because they knew the town was on to them, and they left town and fled before the town could get their hands on them. So they were never brought to justice. So some believe that this may be them here in Colorado Springs, or Linwood Springs. But who knows? You'd think they changed their name, but anyway, the names and the dates kind of lined up. So it really could be them. I'm gonna show it to you. The Bender family, also known as the Bloody Benders, were a family of serial killers who lived and operated in LaBelle County, Kansas from May 1871 to December 1872. The family consisted of John Bender and his wife Elvira, their son John Jr., and daughter Kate. While Bender mythology holds that John Jr. and Kate were siblings, contemporary newspaper reports that several of the Bender neighbors had stated that they claimed to be married, possibly a common law marriage. While there is no definitive number, estimate reports that the Benders killed at least a dozen travelers before their crimes were discovered. The fate of the family remains unknown, with theories ranging from a lynching of the family to a successful escape. Much folklore and legend surrounding the Benders, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. The killing method. It is conjectured that when a guest would stay at the Benders Bed and Breakfast Inn, the host would give the guest a seat of honor at the table, which was positioned over a trap door that led into the cellar. With the victim's back to the curtain, Kate would distract the guest while John Bender or his son would come from behind the curtain and strike the guest on the right side of their skull with a hammer. The victim's throat was cut by one of the women to ensure death. The body was then dropped through the trap door. Once in the cellar, the body would be stripped and later buried somewhere on the property, often in the orchard. Although some of the victims had been quite wealthy, others had been carrying little of value on them, and it was surmised that the Benders had killed them simply for the sheer thrill. Testimony from people who had stayed at the Benders Inn and had managed to escape before they could be killed appeared to support the presumed execution method of the Benders. William Pickering said that when he had refused to sit near the wagon cloth because of the stains on it, he was threatened with a knife by Kate Bender, whereupon he fled the premises. A Catholic priest claimed that he had seen one of the Bender men concealing a large hammer, at which point he became uncomfortable and quickly departed. Two men who had traveled to the inn to experience Kate Bender's psychic powers stayed on for dinner, but that refused to sit at the table next to the cloth, instead preferring to eat their meal at the main shop counter. Kate then became abusive towards him, and in a short while later, the two Bender men emerged from behind the cloth. At this point, the customers began to feel uneasy and decided to leave. a move that almost certainly saved their lives. More than a dozen bullet holes were found in the roof and sides of the cabin. The media speculated that some of the victims had attempted to fight back after being hit with the hammer. There's an interesting connection to the Little House on the Prairie. The Ingalls family, made famous by the books and television series Little House on the Prairie, lived in Independence, and Laura Ingalls Wilder mentioned the Bender family in her writing and speeches. And in 1937, she gave a speech at a book fair, which was later transcribed and printed in the September 1978 Saturday Evening Post and in the 1988 book, A Little House Sampler. She mentioned stopping at the inn, as well as recounting the rumors of the murder spreading through their community. She alleged that her father, Pa Ingalls, joined in a vigilante hunt for the killers, and when he spoke of later searches for them, she recalled, at such times Pa always said in a strange tone of finality, "They will never be found." They were never found, and later I informed my own conclusion of why. Some cast doubt on her story, saying that Laura would have only been 4 years old when the family moved away from the area, and that the Benders were exposed in 1873, 2 years after the Ingalls left. So I have no idea if this is actually the Benders. If this is them, I would think this here, there wasn't a Joe Bender in this story, but this guy's named Joe J. Bender, so that could be John Bender Jr., and this here, Katie, that could be Kate Bender. And in the story, it said she was about 23 years old when this stuff happened. So 1846, 1871, that would have made her 24, 25, maybe 26. So it's pretty close in age. So it could be, I think the likelihood is that maybe Kate Bender, and possibly John Jr. But I think the parents probably went a different direction, and who knows, this may not even be them. This just may be some Benders, but it kind of matches up. What do you think? You think this is the famous Bloody Benders? There's some stories about the Ma and Pa Bender winding up in Michigan, which seems to have a little bit of credibility. But anyway, Kate was never located, neither was John Jr. Okay, so I got the grave sites in the Linwood Cemetery I was hoping to get. I got the Doc Holliday Memorial, a Kid Curry grave site, and I did the Benders, which some people may not be aware of that story, but don't know for sure if that's them, but it's pretty interesting either way. And a true story, I didn't really realize that. I saw an episode in Gunsmoke where they did that, where they had the sheet protect, like a back wall, and the guy was hitting people with a hammer to kill them, just for the sake of killing them. That's all it was about. So please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what you think about the video. Do you think this is where the Benders are buried? Let me know.